Hi, welcome to Torah in 3 minutes. Today I want to do a special edition on anti-Semitism. I think anti-Semitism is one of the most serious questions of our time. Let's first see what anti-Semitism is. It's not a coherent doctrine. In the 19th century, Jews were hated because they were rich, because they were poor, because they were capitalists, and because they were communists, because they kept to themselves and because they infiltrated everywhere. Stalin hated them just because they were rootless cosmopolitans who believed nothing. Anti-Semitism is not a belief, it's a sickness, and one that has very little to do with the Jews. Let me explain. The world is constantly changing, and change is very hard for people to bear, especially when they experience it in a form of loss. The easiest way of coping with it is to blame someone else. Blame is a sickness, and it's a very dangerous one. It defines you as a victim. It absolves you from the responsibility. It allows you to say that the problems that you're experiencing are someone else's fault. And were it not for them, you wouldn't be suffering. It's totally false, and it's ultimately self-destructive, but it's comforting to believe. So who do you blame? Well, you blame someone who's close enough to be a plausible candidate. You blame someone who's different enough not to be like you. And you can also blame someone who's harmless or weak or forgiving enough for it not to be dangerous to blame them. I'll tell you this, no one blames someone they genuinely fear. For centuries, Jews filled that role in Christian Europe. They were religiously different, and in the 19th century they were deemed to be radically different. Today, they fulfill that role in the Islamic Middle East. They're not Arab, they're not Muslim, they are different. Anti-Semitism is a projection. It's caused not by Jews, but by internal conflicts in the societies that give rise to it. Today in the Middle East, and to some degree in Europe, they're riven by conflict. The world is changing economically, politically, and technologically almost faster than people can bear. So they search for someone to blame. It can be the West, it can be America, or it can be the Jews. Since Jews are smaller and weaker than the West and the America, so it usually ends up being the Jews. 1,000 years of Christian and European anti-Semitism gave rise to a long series of myths, to the blood libel, to the protocols of the Elders of Zion, and after the Holocaust, people began to realize how murderous those falsehoods were, and by and large, Europe was cured of them. The trouble is that by then, Europe had infected the Middle East with these exact myths. The blood libel was taken to Egypt and Syria. The protocols of the Elders of Zion was taken by the Mufti of Jerusalem, direct from Nazi Germany. These myths are alive and well today, and have been broadcast by Egyptian and Syrian television as well as other official and influential media. Anti-Semitism is a deadly doctrine. It endangers Jews, but it ultimately destroys anti-Semitic societies themselves. The reason should be obvious. When you blame others and define yourself as a victim, you abdicate responsibility for solving your own problems. And that is why Nazi Germany, Tsarist Russia, and the Soviet Union, massive powers in their day, died from internal decay. You can't build a viable religion, society, or identity on prejudice. Hate endangers the hated, but it destroys the hater. In the last month of his life, Moses gave the Israelites an unusual command. He said, "Do not hate an Egyptian, for you were strangers in their land." What did he mean? The Egyptians enslaved the Israelites and tried to kill every male child. Was that a reason not to hate them? Surely the opposite. We should have hated them. What Moses was doing was very profound. He was telling the next generations that if they continued to hate Egyptians, they would still be slaves to the past and to a sense of grievance. Moses would have taken the Israelites out of Egypt, but he would not have taken the Egypt out of the Israelites. He was stating one of the deepest truths of all. If you want to be free, you have to let go of hate. And that's the message we must insist at every opportunity. Anti-Semitism matters not because Jews are Jews, but because Jews are human. You cannot deny someone else's humanity without endangering your own. That's my thought for today. I think we have to look deep down within ourselves. We cannot let haters continue to hate. That's your Torah in 5.5 minutes. Have a fantastic day.